What's up? It's me back again. Analog Attack. How you all doing? Todd Burdette's with me today. How you doing, Todd?
Good. How are you?
I'm
Nice
great.
to see you, man.
It's so good to see you. It's been a while.
Been a
Cheers, my
little
friend.
while. Yeah.
Cheers. Kampai.
Come by.
What are you drinking tonight?
This is an IPA
Ooh.
there's a local brewery here called Baerlic, Baerlic.
All right.
They just are doing really nice, clean West Coast IPAs, and they do all kinds of styles, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm drinking tonight.
Cool. It's IPA. Your
It's
favorite
called
style
Into
of
the
beer?
Void
Into the Void. Wow.
is the name of the beer. So.
Cool. Are they like punk owned and operated brewery? Or?
There's some punk connection, but I'm not really sure what it is.
All right. That's a good name for a beer.
Yeah.
IPA is your favorite kind of beer? Or?
I love all kinds, but seeing most of the hops are grown an hour and a half from here up in the Yakima Valley, and there's so many good breweries here.
Yeah.
I gravitate towards hoppy stuff, but
yeah. You're actually in a bar right now, aren't you?
Yes. True.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
It's just a bar I work in, and I'm after hours.
After hours. So cool. So cheers. I'm drinking a Japanese wheat beer. Have you ever seen this one on your travels?
I have seen that one. I haven't had it, but I've seen it.
It's getting more popular. You can kind of get it in convenience stores now. But just a Weizen wheat beer.
Wheat beer.
It's pretty good. Ginga Kogen. Yeah. So this is what I usually drink. But I was just thinking, the last time we saw each other was on an island, right? It was Sabah Island, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting weekend.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Do you remember much about it? Do you remember like the first night? Do you remember that? It was it was on the mainland, but it was kind of a bit out of the city, right? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, the jungle one, or
the jungle one, yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. Just everyone was super friendly, great hosts, but they're just okay. Get your stuff, jump in the store, and then just driving further and further into the jungle.
I know.
And we got there was nothing set up, and they said, okay, like now we have to build the stage. And we're like, okay. And so many people working on it all day.
That's right.
Built a stage up, built the PA up, and it was fantastic. It was all generator run because it
was
out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that was a really good time. I remember like the generator broke down a couple of times, I think. Like
we had to start over again a couple times at least.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I didn't expect that. I knew it was going to be a little way out of the city, but yeah. So they had like buses running to take people out there, but they were so like far behind. We ended up hitchhiking out there with some punks. It was very cool. Very cool.
It was cool. It was one of a kind. Like,
yeah. Who set that up? Do you remember? What was it?
I don't remember.
Me neither.
I mean, the whole kind of ring was set up by Yep from Piscars and stuff in Australia.
Oh, right.
So he kind of took on like getting it all sorted and everything.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we're talking about tragedy, of course, and then the day after we went to Sabah Island. That was a really cool venue. I remember really enjoying that place too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then
it's pretty humid.
It was humid. I remember they were like selling like really cheap Heineken. I think it was at that place. That's right.
You have a better memory than I do.
I just remember that, just buying lots of Heineken and it being really, really humid.
Mm-hmm.
And really small. It's kind of small place. Lots of people there. Yeah. And then I don't know if you did this, but the next day we kind of went on one of those river cruises, like down the river into the jungle.
No, we didn't get to that. We didn't have time for that. But...
Okay. Yeah, so that was like...
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. That was a cool time. That was about 10 years ago, right? 10, 12 years ago, maybe. Something like that.
You tell me.
I think so. Yeah. So that was the last time I saw you.
As we were saying off camera, my chronology is fucked.
Me too. I was trying to
It's
figure
all
it
a
out.
blur.
I couldn't. It was just sometime in the past. Anyway.
Yep.
All right.
And I remember selective things. You know, I remember certain food I ate, or a beer, or
Yeah.
a certain opening band, or something we got to do not related to being on tour.
That's
Those
cool.
things are very vivid, but a lot of times the everyday details become pretty blurry.
Yeah, I know. Do you remember who played at the gig on Sabah? Who else played? I don't remember at all.
I don't either.
Right. Yeah, me neither. Just the Heineken and the humidity.
Yeah, and we had already been on tour for a while too.
Yeah.
And first time being in those countries. So
Right.
I went to Australia and New Zealand before with Severed Head Estate.
Yeah.
But this was my first time going to Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia.
Right.
So I'm still kind of trying to absorb everything, and only a day or a few days in each place is kind of makes it blurry.
Definitely. But I figure the place you've probably been the most, I'm not sure, is Japan, right?
Outside of the US, yeah. Well, actually, Mexico.
Okay.
And Canada, because they're close by.
Yeah.
I've actually done a fair amount of touring in Mexico, which is
wow,
one of my favorite places in the world. So.
Wow. I've been listening to a bit of Mexican hardcore a bit recently. Even like newer stuff.
Like new stuff or old stuff?
Even like newer stuff. I've got some later. I'm going to show in the last part of our chat. I've got a couple of things.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about Japan. You must have like so many good stories about coming over here and touring. And this was the first time you came, right? With His Hero Is Gone.
Yes. Yeah, 1998. And there's a funny story about that sleeve that you have there. That was a misprint.
Right.
Because, you know, when you send your negatives to the pressing plant, it's supposed to be the negative because it gets printed opposite.
Right.
But somehow in the process, we sent them the positive. And so when they made it, that's what it looked like, when it's supposed to be. It was a misprint. You know, all the other ones you've seen are white on black.
I know, it's funny because this is the only one I've ever owned. And I posted it the other day and everyone was like, what's that? I'm like, what?
I don't remember the details, but we saved some of these jackets and used them for a certain pressing. I don't remember the details, but I don't think there are many of those around, or not nearly as many.
Yeah, people like never seen that before.
I don't have one of those.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. There you go.
I don't.
So 1998, I actually did check this out because I wanted to make sure, because I moved to Japan in 1998, but it was like a bit after that first tour, that His Hero Is Gone tour, so I missed it. Do you remember who you played with? Like, who organized the tour?
Well, Toshio from Bass, Toshio Ijima from Bass Records organized the tour through coordination with Ken from Prank, who was our label at that time.
Right.
And Toshio organized it all, and he kind of asked how long we wanted to go, and we said longer the better, which he was surprised by. But it was a pretty good tour, and the list we sent of the bands we wanted to play with was like monumental.
Yeah.
And across all kinds of different styles, because that's how we were at that time. Yeah. And we played with a lot of good bands. So I should have dug up some flyers or something to jog my memory, but
no, but did he tour with a band, or did he just tour and then every city you played with different bands, right?
Yeah, we were just on our own, which is kind of the best way. It's really fun touring with another band, and you get to become better friends and build some kind of rapport. But there's something really nice about, I've always just kind of like the feeling of being on your own, and showing up to a new city every day and meeting new people who are going to help you out and show you around, and you get to play with one more local band.
That's true.
If you're not on tour with a touring band.
That's very true. Yeah,
which is part of why we played with so many amazing bands on that tour. Yeah, we were completely unknown. So I think the fact that we wanted to play with a variety of styles of bands also meant that they could put different styles within each show to
Right.
get more people out because we were unknown too. So
Very cool. Very
it
cool.
worked out really cool.
Yeah. And there was a really amazing surprise in Tokyo, right? At one of the gigs on that tour.
Yeah, for sure. Judgment ended up playing. And I really don't know the details of how it happened. I think Toshio probably pulled some strings somehow and made it happen because
Right.
he knew that we were obsessed with that band at that time. And they were on the flyer, and we heard they didn't sound check, and we had heard some rumor through the language barrier that possibly they were going to play that night. And when all the other bands were done, they just played. The bass player had just gotten out of prison, and I think, again, I don't know if I have the details right because there was a lot of language barrier, but it seemed like it was the first time they had played since he got out. And they were just on fire. I mean, they played the first 3 Judgment singles, and they played the Shikabane song from Bastard. They played those 7 songs, and that was it.
That must have been one of the best surprises ever. Amazing.
For me, the best ever. I mean, they were literally my favorite band at the time. You know.
Yeah, I never.
Still one of my favorites.
Yeah,
so.
I never saw them with that lineup. I only saw them with Jaja. I mean, still good, but who was singing? Was it Tokoro or Nori?
With the Jaja version too. With Deathreat.
But who was singing? Tokoro or Nori when you saw him? Tokoro, right?
Tokoro was. Yeah. And I love Tokoro's vocals, but for me, Nori is number 1.
Yeah. I'll agree with you on that. Definitely. Absolutely.
And the Kruk stuff too. Just amazing.
Here's like, we could go on about Kruk for a while, but just like the way he phrases.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Something about the cadence of his phrasing.
Yeah.
Even, with the traditional Japanese style of Japanese verses and English choruses, but just following along to the verses in Japanese, which I don't understand much of. Still, the cadence of it is just amazing.
Very unique, and I don't know the technicalities of that and if it's easy to do, but it's very unique and incredible, really.
Well, especially it's hard to do that because in hardcore, if you try to do that too hard, then it ends up really choppy and weird and angular.
Yeah.
And somehow he always made it really, really flow, really smooth. Yeah.
And I think I might be right in saying that Osaka you played with Frampted and Corrupted when they only had demos out, right?
Yeah, exactly, which was really cool.
Yeah.
That was the first I'd heard of either of those bands because they were brand new bands.
Yeah.
And they were great. And that I remember specifically that show was pretty small. And it's funny to think about the people that would, want to see that now.
I was trying to find out where that was. I can guess it was either, it might have been Gate 3 or Guild, but one of those really small places. But yeah.
It was a really small place, really narrow, small stage. And the backstage was up a little stairway to the right when you walk in the front door.
Right. That's funny because I moved to Japan in that year, and I do remember being given.
I don't remember the name of the venue, but and we slept in they had a little place upstairs where you sleep after the show.
Okay, it might be Gate 3, which is gone now. It could be there.
That doesn't ring a bell, but it could be.
Okay, I'll ask. But yeah, I remember that was funny.
I remember the stairway. I remember the stage and how loud Corrupted was.
Yeah. Like I said, I moved to Japan in that year, and I remember being like given Frampted demos and Corrupted demos around that, just a little bit after that. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, they were funny at that time. Like they would have all the patches, but it would be like 4 different versions of like a Crude SS patch.
Right.
Or like multiple versions of the same band, but just different patches.
Yeah.
All Swedish stuff, obviously.
Yeah. Amazing. So that would have been the first time you came here, right?
Yes, definitely.
First time.
Yeah.
And the time.
Yeah.
So the first time that I remember seeing you in Japan would have been when Deathreat came, which I think was 2001, I
I
think.
think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And how different was that from that first tour with His Hero Is Gone, with the Deathreat tour?
I would say it was very similar.
Good.
I mean, we were
Okay.
also an unknown band.
Yeah.
We also played with a pretty diverse
Right.
lot of bands.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I understand it, the tradition of putting the headlining band on last. But a lot of times what we end up doing here in the States, when we have an unknown band, it could be a band that's popular somewhere else, but we'll put them in the middle.
Right.
So that people don't leave. And so we were really nervous and flattered that like we were always at the end of these shows.
Right.
So there was one show we played, you know, and like Crow played in the middle, and then like Gauze played after that, and then DSB played, and then we would play. And you're just like, all right, we'll give it our best. You know?
Yeah, I think I've heard that a lot of touring bands sometimes request to go on in the middle because they don't want to play after all these other bands.
I don't remember which tour it was, but one tour we did, Gauze played first.
Yeah.
7 bands that was played first.
Yeah.
Like, okay, unbelievable. Yeah.
That tour's with DSB, right? Deathreat tour. Am I right?
Yeah. Double Death Blow.
That's it. And there's a 7-inch too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And
yeah, DSB was on fire at that point.
They were definitely at their peak.
Amazing live band at that point.
Unbelievable.
And that first LP, I think, is still fantastic.
Yeah.
Such a good record.
Yeah. They were
just amazing live at that point. Just like unmatched energy.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. And I think that's it. You recorded at Our House Studios, right?
Yeah, we did.
It's like, I think everyone wants to hear a little bit about Our House Studios because everyone that loves Japanese hardcore knows about Our House. Has probably never been there, and so even me, I want to kind of know like what it's like.
The coolest thing about it is it was very I don't know the word for it, understated, I guess. Like
right.
We loved all these records that were recorded there, and like our dream was to record there. We finally got there, and it's a very small mixing booth.
Right.
One big room, not even a huge room, one room for tracking, and nothing fancy.
Right.
But Yanagita, the engineer there, was just kind of a wizard behind the board, and he had really unique techniques. I remember one time I played drums in Deathreat, but we were talking about the guitar sound, and I asked him like, how do these bands get the sound of the records that were recorded here? And he said, no tricks. He basically said, you have to be that good. When you're that good, it doesn't matter.
I was looking back today, just before we did this, and just the list of records that were done there. It's just like every great Japanese hardcore record pretty much from the mid-90s onwards was done there, right?
It's a vital part of it because that era of stuff was, for me, is awesome. There's so much of it was recorded there. So
and it's still going.
But he was a cool guy. Yanagita was cool. He would duck out for sometimes up to an hour.
Yeah.
And we heard rumors that he was at the bar, but he was amazing to work with.
Yeah.
There is one funny thing about that record. In the end, we were doing the final mix.
Right.
And I was and by final mix, I mean we did all of this in one day.
Right.
So like there was no like time to think about it, and but we're doing the mix, and I asked him like, hey, I'm missing this one cymbal, and it turns out that he was using active mics, so every mic needs a battery or needs power, and that one was off the entire recording. So there's actually a cymbal that's missing on the entire recording. Which is, I mean, I don't think anyone would know that, but I still hear that there's parts where there's supposed to be this cymbal, that's not there.
Legendary. legendary studio. I'm happy to
Yeah,
see that.
I just love the no tricks. You know, like
No tricks.
I mean, I don't know what I expected, but he was going to say like, "Oh, you use this pedal and you do this," and he was just like, "No tricks." Yeah.
It's funny. Just remember that you said name Our House Studios, Mr. Yanagida. You just know it's going to sound amazing. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a cool setup for doing the backing vocals.
Oh.
Which I've never experienced this at any other studio, where all the people that are going to do the backing videos or backing vocals, I mean, and we had some friends come in to do that stuff too.
Right.
And he's just blasting the music through some speakers in the studio, and everyone is just kind of singing along as if it were in a live scenario, like no headphones or anything. I guess it makes sense if you have a lot of people and everyone can't have headphones, but it was such a cool thing. I've never done that before. But, yeah, it was really cool.
That is really cool, because I've always actually wondered about that. Because you know, like on most Japanese hardcore records, it's got like thanks and chorus and it like lists like, you know, about 6 people from other bands that came in to do the like backup, the gang vocals and stuff. So I can just
like, gang vocals are tough. They're tough to get them right in the studio.
Right.
But I think that method is really cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. I've always actually kind of wondered about that, because you know, pretty much every Japanese hardcore record has like the 6 or 7 friends coming in from other bands. And
yeah, and it's cool when you're in that room and you're actually there with the people and you're kind of doing this together. Like, it's a cool feeling.
Amazing. So like that was Deathreat, and then I guess did Tragedy come before that or after? I know it's a tough question, the timeline.
I think it was after.
After. And Tragedy been to Japan twice now? 3 times?
I think twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
I think so. One time, like when the tour was over, you stayed on in Japan, right? After one of the tours.
Well, that was the second one, and that was because the whole tour was going to be with the 4 bands, 2 Japanese bands and 2 American bands.
Right.
And one of us, I can't remember who, wasn't able to do the whole thing. So we just did the first half of it. And then I stayed on and went on the second half. Just as I figured I was there, I might as well go to more shows and go record shopping.
You've really jogged my memory with that, because it was Doomsday Hour, right? This is the band.
It was their other band, Star Strangled Bastards.
That's it. Sorry. Yes. Yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah. And you played at Bears in Osaka together, I think, maybe.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I think Bears is where the Frampton and Corrupted show was in '98.
Okay.
I believe it was.
That would make sense. Yeah, go down the stairs. Go down the stairs into the basement. That's pretty much like every venue. Yeah. So who did you play with on that first Tragedy tour? Do you remember? The first tour.
Man, I should have dug up flyers to remember, because I don't remember which tour we played with which bands.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that one was the first time and only time I saw Zone. We played with Zone.
Yes, I remember that.
It was really cool. One of my favorite bands that I always wanted to see.
I don't know if I've got this right, but I think at that gig they hadn't played for quite a while.
They hadn't.
It was in Shizuoka, right? Or Hamamatsu. And the singer came out and he had like 4 like lit cigarettes and like a glass of whiskey, and he was doing the real like we're back kind of thing.
Yeah. Amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah.
And then I think it was that tour. We also got to go up to Hokkaido.
Nice.
And we got to play. I think there was one show we played with all 3 of the bands that those guys are in. Like I think we played with Mustang,
Crude,
maybe even Balance.
Okay.
I think it was Mustang, Balance, and Crude, and us, or Ite maybe. Yeah, I think it was Ite.
Ooh,
yeah.
Wow.
But they were kind of shared members, so they practice and record there in the live hall. So that was really cool. But I think there were about 15 people at that show.
Mm. Yeah, I've
I think
heard
they have
like,
a really small scene up there.
yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
But the bands are amazing.
they are. That's pretty amazing. The Hakodate scene, just like 4 or 5 really amazing bands from this tiny little coastal fishing town, you know, up north.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that first Balance 7-inch is awesome.
very cool. Yeah.
Why Answer is Still Missing.
Yes.
That's a great one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as you said, it's kind of all like trying to piece this together. But I remember like Anti-Knock, I think the final gig of the second tour, I think, Anti-Knock was amazing. That's all I remember. And I don't remember who played.
I mean, I also really enjoyed the small town, playing some of the more remote places and and we actually got to play with a lot of cool bands that we requested to play with because they were probably the band that we would have ended up playing with anyway.
Yeah.
In some of the small towns where there are only a few bands.
I like that you did that because these days, well, not these days, but it's getting that where bands come, they do Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya. You know, it's you know, it's a bit of a shame.
No, I want to go everywhere.
Right?
I mean,
yeah.
You make the effort to go, might as well.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a small town, and really in my core, I'm a small town person. So
right.
I struggle with the big cities. So I like playing the small town shows for sure.
Yeah. By the way, I just wanted to say that this is my favorite Tragedy record.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I don't know if that's like a.
I think you're in the minority on that one.
Hmm?
You're probably in the minority on that
one.
Although I have had other people say it.
Yeah, it's got a certain atmosphere to it that I really, really like.
I love the front cover artwork.
Who did this?
Our friend, his name's Davey DeAndrea.
Okay.
He's a fantastic art. He's done a lot of art for stuff you would have seen around. Like he's done old High on Fire art, and he does stuff for Om and Sleep, and kind of you would recognize his art if you saw it.
All right.
But he lives here. He was a friend of mine, and kind of asked him to do something outside of the box of what he normally does.
Right.
This isn't like most people wouldn't see that and recognize that it's his art.
I see.
But then when you tell them it is, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I love this record.
Thank you.
Yeah. Warcry. Let's talk about Warcry. And I want to there we go. Got to show a record. Now this is one I didn't have. Like I had the others, and everyone was telling me, "Oh no, the 4th LP is the best." Like everyone was telling me, and I was thinking, well, how many hardcore bands have a 4th LP which is their best? Of course, I thought, well, Lip Cream, and then
also forget hardcore. Just how many bands
do 4 LPs? Yeah,
do 4 LPs, or that they're okay.
Yeah.
Lip Cream's a good one because 4th is best.
Well, that's why I said, well, yeah, but I think they were right. It's a great record.
I mean, even classic rock, you don't get that many bands who did 3 good albums.
Right. No. Yeah. But I remember the Warcry Japan tour because that was with right?
Yes.
We've got to talk about
and that was kind of a cultural exchange thing where Koida and I have been friends since a long time, and kind of had this idea to. I think I is one of the greatest Japanese hardcore bands, and I wanted people to see in the U.S. to see what their shows are like and to see the passion and the energy. And so we just kind of did like a little trade and brought them over here, and we got to go over there.
Yeah, I think we should do a little cheers to Koide because he's one of the best guys. Great friend, great guy. Cheers.
Kanpai.
Yeah.
He got a Warcry tattoo on that tour.
I know he did. Yeah. He always talks very.
Get my eye tattoo.
Yeah, he always talks very fondly of you and Warcry. Very.
We had a great time. Like, I think we realized pretty early on that despite everything that was going on around the tour or anything else, that the core feeling of what we were doing was we were very much like together on that.
Yeah.
And I haven't done a lot of touring with other bands, so it was really cool to feel like we're on the same page. You know?
Yeah. He's great. I first met the second time I came to Japan, just on vacation. I met him and he just came up to me and just started talking, and we became friends right away. And yeah, and I went to Tokyo and saw Bandit because he used to drum in Bandit.
Awesome,
yeah. You know, we've been friends ever since then. So really.
Yeah, I think maybe it was a small town thing too, because being out there where they live was obviously worlds apart from where I grew up, but there was something about the sparse population and the small town vibe that was familiar.
Right. And Seven Head of State didn't come to Japan, right? But you got some offers to come though, right?
I think I'm not sure.
Okay.
We definitely never made it. And I heard rumors over the years of something happening, but it never happened.
Yeah.
And this band was always kind of a very existential band anyway, because in the beginning, when we started the band, I was in process of moving from Tennessee to Oregon. Bass player Kelly lived in Oregon, and Chris and Jack lived in Texas.
Right.
So Kelly came from Portland to Texas. I was traveling through. We recorded that record.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, we recorded the first record.
Okay.
And then I moved out to Portland, and around the same time, Kelly moved to Germany because he married a woman there.
Okay.
So then we were even further apart. So we've never been a band that lives in the same city and practices.
Yeah. I haven't seen Jack for a long time either. That would have been World Burns to Death.
Yeah, they made it over for sure.
Yeah.
Great band too.
Very good. They played a couple of really great shows like I went to. Sakabi got on stage at Antinoch and just was like dancing with them. So
awesome.
Something to see for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Todd, I want to ask you a little bit about this band, Nightfell, because I love these records.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, this is kind of the focus of my musical creativity for the last really 10 years.
Wow.
Almost 10 years. So we have 3 albums.
Yeah.
I'm playing all the guitar, bass, vocals, and Tim is on drums. And we have some other people playing on.
Okay.
Julia Kemp plays cello on the second record, and there's some more atmospheric stuff. But it just kind of happened after the Darker Days Ahead album with Tragedy. Some part of that record was me wanting to explore a bit of a darker side again, like we had with some of the slower His Hero stuff.
Right.
And I just don't think, I mean, that record came out how it came out, but I don't think that we as a band were totally locked into that idea.
Right.
And maybe some people in the band wanting to just play hardcore. And that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
It was almost a catalyst, like, okay, if this isn't going to work to go for a darker sound, I'll just do something completely different that's even darker. And I can use that as my, vehicle for creativity. And so that's the main thing I work on. Tim lives in Seattle now, and we're in a pandemic, so things are a little bizarre, but I've gone up to Seattle once, and we pretty much have 2 more albums worth of stuff.
Really? Oh, wow.
Needs to be finished up.
Cool.
So,
because he plays in a lot of bands, right?
He does.
Dusk.
Yeah, I mean, he even plays in Mournful Congregation, who live in Australia, because there was a European tour, and he ended up filling in for them, and they hit it off. And And in the world we live in now, they send him all the music and he records it here and sends it back. It's kind of crazy. But,
amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to some new recordings.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing I like about Nightfell and kind of playing that style of heavier music in general is just being able to not feel so limited by the confines of punk and hardcore, which I love those confines too, which is part of why I want it to be something different.
Yeah.
Very cool. But
yeah. So you've been in all these bands. You must have been to a lot of countries. Going around countries means buying records, right? Checking out the local record stores in cities all over the world. The vinyl scavenger.
Yeah, I mean, that's how. I know you say you're not a record collector, and we're both somewhere in between. But for me, most of my collection I got from touring, just traveling around and asking people what bands they grew up on. So if you're in Greece, you know, at the time I didn't know much about pre-internet, you know, going to Europe in the 90s, before the internet, I didn't know much about what kind of underground scene there was in Greece. So it's asking the local bands, like, what did you grow up on? What are your favorite bands? What was the Ramones of Greece? What was the Slayer of Greece? What was the Metallica of Greece? And just sends you down a wormhole. And then, you know, you go to the record store the next day and you buy whatever the locals recommend you buy. And that's kind of the history of, you know, and then a lot of pen pals and trading, because that was the way it was back then.
Yeah. So, sorry.
It's not better or worse. It's just, it was a different way of collecting.
Yeah.
It was a lot of digging and, but it's really fun and really rewarding.
Have you got
so like the first time I went to Japan in '98, I had a want list, but at that time I lived in Tennessee. We didn't have a lot of exposure to, you know, again, this is pre-internet.
Yeah.
My want list was largely built off of trading records with people through the classifieds and Maximum Rock and Roll, and then seeing things on their want list that I didn't recognize and adding them to my want list, or looking at a record you really like and seeing what bands they think, and then I got to find those records, because if they like them, I must like them.
Yeah.
And then you end up with records on your want list that, in some cases, I would find 10 years later. Oh, I finally found this record, and you put it on, like, that's not a very good record.
Yeah.
You're on your want list for 10 years because you've never seen it.
Right.
So the first time I went to Japan in '98, I definitely had a want list of some hard-hitting Japanese stuff that I knew I wanted. But I also just saved, I saved up over $1,000, which is a lot for me at the time, living in this. And I just, I rated the 100 yen boxes. And this was '98, so pre-internet. And I just bought every dollar record. 100 yen is about $1. So I'm buying every dollar record that either looks cool or I've heard of it or looks like it might be interesting.
Yeah.
And in essence, I bought a couple hundred records, and some of them were terrible. Some of them weren't, you know, punk or metal records at all. But I, you know, got some really cool records that way completely by accident.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite records are those kind of. They're probably still in the dollar bill.
Let's have a look.
This is one of my very favorites, and you'll know it because it's MCR related.
Okay.
It's Sex Complex Class.
Complex Class.
And this is the second plexi they did.
Yeah.
Or second phono seat.
Phono sheet. Yes.
But it's missing the H too, so it's a phono seat.
Okay.
But this plexi, I mean, it's probably, I don't know. It might not be. It might be rare. I don't know. But it's
I have
kind of something like Stalin, a little reverbed out vocal, this kind of cool phaser on the guitar the whole time.
Yeah.
It's a really cool record, and that's the kind of thing I like as much as the super rare stuff.
Yeah, me too. That one you will definitely not find in the 100 bin. 100 yen bin these days for sure.
Yeah, maybe not.
I haven't checked.
And of course, at that time,
Discogs or
I
anything.
also, you know, in the same lot, I got stuff like this.
Oh,
Suicide Flexi. Can you see it?
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Right, there it goes.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this was something I didn't know this band at that time. I thought it looked cool, and it's like classic, you know, classic Japanese hardcore.
I've never heard it, to be honest with you. It's a new one.
It's fantastic.
It's a new one.
Yeah, they have two flexis. This is the Suicide one, and it's an amazing record.
Wow. What label's that on?
This is on.
If it's readable.
I think it's self-released.
Okay.
Here on the inside, let me change this camera. Here on the inside, produced by Sexual.
Yeah. Print by Toshi.
Yeah, and then.
Wow. That's, yeah. Looks very self-released.
And this was the classic. You remember these sleeves?
Yeah.
I don't know what the story is with those, but I have quite a few records with those kind of green sleeves.
Wow.
Well, I think this is probably something people pay a lot of money for.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of like I like both of these records equally as much in a different way.
Yeah.
Because the point wasn't that they were rare records. It was that I found them, and it was fascinating to me how extensive the Japanese punk and hardcore collection was.
Yeah.
And especially the whole flexi thing. You know, in the US it was demo tapes, and Europe was demo tapes. But in Japan it was cheaper to make a flexi.
Yeah.
So these things were demos for a lot of bands, and some of them are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got those on your first trip to Japan. That you got those too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I like stuff like this. I like a lot of this stuff too. That's not. I don't think it's ever become trendy or anything, but they were dollar bin records. But this one.
Yeah. I remember
Poisonous Cross Gibbet.
Is that an 8-inch flexi?
This one's 7.
Okay.
They have an 8-inch as well.
Okay.
Which is also really good.
Yes.
But yeah, I just love all this stuff. It's like these are records I got. You know, I don't know if I would enjoy them if I listened to them on YouTube and found them on Discogs.
Yeah.
I don't know what that record's worth. It might be a $10 record, but I don't think you're going to enjoy it the same way.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. The first time I came to Japan, like I didn't have like a physical wants list. I just kind of had a rough idea of a few things that I wanted, but I ended up just buying a lot of stuff like, you know, Don and mink oil, and
I love all that stuff.
And that kind of stuff, you know, and Rinju.
I love all that stuff.
I bought a few, like, because I was never, I don't know, yeah. What else did I get? Like a couple of Lip Cream albums, like great punk hits. Yeah, you know, but
the Skulls EP from Don is really good.
That's a cool one.
Like a Manila sleeve.
Yes.
Really
Again, it's a record that's still, you know, probably 800 yen, $8 record even now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have a good scene when like your run of the mill stuff is pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So, is that all the Japanese stuff you got?
No.
All right.
So I was going to mention. So I have a friend in Osaka named Takao, who an old pen pal of mine, and I guess it's another form of scavenging records or collecting records in that way. Is that we became pen pals through. I think he bought a Deathreat record or his Hero record from me directly, and we became pen pals. And then one time we were writing, and I sent him my want list, and he sent me a box of records in there.
Wow.
Of just like some of the stuff from my want list.
Right.
In that box, he had his want list, and his was long. There's a ton of American hardcore stuff that honestly I could find. And so we started a friendship of over a decade of just sending each other a box of records based on we had each other's want list. And there was no like, hey, I'll give you this for this, or It was just
right.
You just get a box of records in the mail and you
Yeah.
send a box of records out.
Yeah.
Really cool. But one I got from him through that friendship and trading is something I probably would never have found any other way.
Oh,
This LP.
yes, there we go.
Final Solution.
Like a ridiculously, like 150 copies only or something crazy.
I've seen different things. I've seen 200 and I've seen 500.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, it's not because it's a rare record. It's because it's a fucking great record.
It is great.
And I got it in the wild, you know, trading with a friend. And he's probably equally stoked about the records I sent him in the box I sent him.
Yeah.
That stuff's really cool, I think.
That is a great record. Yeah. They've like reissued all the stuff as I think it's a double LP, I think a Finnish label reissued all the asbestos stuff, but
I think that's their best stuff.
I think I love the guitar player in that band. I think it's like he's called Shin Ichiro, and he also played in Don Don on some of their records, and he played in Macrophage too. And he has a really good like guitar tone.
Yeah, I mean this guitar tone, it's definitely kind of similar to Randy Uchida's. And the vocals have that guttural thing too. Like it definitely sounds related to Gizem.
Yeah.
But it's just a great record.
It is, yeah. Great band. Yeah. So what other countries? You must have, not only Japan, must have been Europe.
Yeah, so I have some other records here that are kind of things I picked up either just for cheap or this is one of my all-time favorite records. The New Root 7-inch.
Oh, cool.
Right as Might.
Yeah.
And there's still the €1 or one. Actually, it was before the Euro. It was the 90s tour. It might have been like, I don't even remember what the currency was, but I left the sticker on it. But I just love this record. It's super, really heavy for its time. I think it's 85. And they were tuned down, and there's a whole description in the fold-out insert about why they tuned down, and they were having this heavier guitar sound. Wow. I love that record. Yeah. This is another one I got in Germany. This was on the Severed Head Estate tour in Europe, where we did 64 shows in 62 days or something like that. It was the most insane tour. And we went everywhere. Like we played in Bosnia and Macedonia and just places you wouldn't go to if you wouldn't go there to go there on tour. You go there because that's fitting a 6-hour drive to go to the next place. But those places were amazing, and a lot of American bands had never gone there.
Right.
So that was really cool.
Wow.
But on that tour, I was in a record store in, I believe it was Frankfurt, called Secondhand Records. And it's just one of these places where like, it's just endless stuff. And I'm digging through, we went there for probably over an hour, and I'm digging through a box that wasn't even punk records. And there was the Bomb and Fall EP for €2.50. Again, it's not bragging about these records. It was just because of like digging around and really trying to find this stuff.
Yeah.
Just so different from how you would buy a record now.
It is, yeah. That's
cool.
Do
you buy a lot of do you search for old kind of hard to find stuff, or?
I do, but you know what? Going back to that 100 yen bin thing that you were doing in Tokyo and Osaka in like 1998, I was just doing that like just this week. Like, so you want to see what I got in the 100 yen bin, 2021. No Japanese stuff, but just, you know, this is the kind of stuff that's like in the 100 yen bins, like Norwegian D-beat Dishonorable Discharge. Jim Martin put this out, but great records. There is some Japanese stuff. This band, Nemesis.
Oh yeah, I have that one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
So this stuff.
That was one of the better kind of traditional Japanese hardcore records, I think, from the past.
They have a couple of 7 inches, and you know, these are starting to show up now in the. Yeah, I don't know what to feel like happy or sad about it. You know, obviously I'm happy, but you know what I mean. It's like 100 yen disc union.
Yeah, those are cool.
Very good, very cool. A lot of friends put this out, like Dennis over there in the States, and Luke Ratbone, and there's a 3 label, you know. 3 labels put these out. And I mean Finnish hardcore as well, this band.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great band.
Yeah. So I mean I just like killed all the stuff, you know, all the birds with like they're all
Might as well,
yeah. You know, great stuff. This is a great one. Price of Silence.
I love that band. They're fantastic.
Oh man,
I was just listening to the 12-inch yesterday.
That's on my wants list. I don't think it's.
It was for me too, even though it's not a rare record. Right. It's all the copies are in Europe.
Okay.
And the shipping was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. The 4 songs on the 12-inch are awesome.
Man, it's like there's 2 songs on here. One of them I literally played it like 10 times in a row. The first time I put it's like that riff, that mid-paced riff, it's like they just.
For those who don't know, this is basically Meanwhile playing their take on what if Grave New World was done right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they were going for.
Yeah.
So it's the mid-tempo later discharge style, but same vocalist from Meanwhile and Just Change.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I think I believe Kenko, who plays drums
he does
in Meanwhile and Just Change. I believe he plays guitar in Price of Silence.
You're right. Yeah.
It's the same. This band is basically it's those same guys. I think Yalo's involved too, and
he's on bass. Yeah.
Yeah, and he played in Totalitaire and stuff. So like, very incestuous scene.
Well, people have been kind of telling me a bit about this band. I was a bit skeptical. Don't be skeptical. This is amazing. I mean, it's like
they're great,
fantastic. So yeah, and then I guess this is a Mexican band. Falas.
Yeah, they're from Guadalajara, I believe.
Yeah, have you ever seen this band?
I've seen them many times in Japan. In Mexico.
Mexico, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we toured Mexico quite a bit. At one point, we kind of, I believe it was Deathreat, we kind of got tired of playing on crappy equipment and the local bands playing on crappy equipment. Right. So we just took our van and trailer and took all of our gear and took to Mexico and just let all the opening bands play through it. It was pretty awesome.
Wow. Yeah. And then this is another Mexican band. Sorry.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty, aggressive hardcore.
That's a new record.
It's from about 8 years ago, I think.
Okay.
8 years ago. But yeah. I love this is the kind of stuff I love, like finding stuff you don't know about.
Well, yeah, I mean the Mexican bands that I found about were from going there.
Right.
So I think I bought one. Let's see.
Yeah, Mexican hardcore.
So this is my favorite Mexican record. It's the Massacre 68 album.
Yeah, incredible.
Or Massacre 68.
Yeah.
Just such a good record.
I got the live LP too. That's amazing as well.
Is that the split with Hysteria?
It could be, yeah. It's just a live recording from around that time. They play most of the songs from that LP. It sounds really good. It's decent recording.
Well, it's funny talking about this stuff because the way I discovered the first Mexican band I heard, I got this record when I was still a teenager. I don't know if you recognize this one. 1984, The Second.
No.
It's kind of a label from France, New Wave.
Okay, yeah.
and they did a lot of these international comps. But you can see I did something that probably would make record collectors freak out. When I was a kid, I actually marked the songs that I liked.
Amazing.
Highlighter and a pen.
I love that.
One of the songs on this was from Solution Mortal, the song Imperialista, which is still, one of the best like Mexican punk hardcore songs. So that's what's comps like this are what sent me searching for all this international stuff, even when I was a teenager.
Very cool. And this band, Acid Reflux, really good hardcore band. It's on No Way Records. Bunch of 7 inches.
I recognize that one.
From Raleigh, right?
Yeah.
Great band. Stack, like German.
Oh yeah, we played with them in the with His Hero in the 90s.
Interesting scene. Bremen, right? Bremen.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. And another German one, Lucifer's Mob.
Oh yeah. I don't think we played with them, but I remember them being from that same scene.
Yeah. Stuff like that. It's what's I
have a good story about a Rare record.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You posted something about an Asocial record a while back.
Okay.
And I have a good story about that one too, but I could not find the record. Hopefully I still own it. But with that one, it was the second Asocial 7-inch from Sweden. And there's a store in the Bay Area, Amoeba.
Right. Yep.
Went in there and just digging through, and it was there for $1.95. But I couldn't find it. I was going to bring it.
Okay.
But this is a similar story, and it ties in with the Japanese thing. My friend Shane, for my birthday one year, gave me this record. Shane sang in Dead and Gone and Alaric, really awesome guy. But he lived in the Bay Area, and he gave me this record for my birthday one year. He also got it at Amoeba. The record, the record, but the price tag is still on it.
Oh, I can't see it. I can see. Oh, is it like $2 or something?
$2.95.
$2.95.
Yeah. And so I didn't find that record in the wild, but Shane did and gifted it to me. So another example of just a cool scavenge record that.
Very cool.
I mean, even at that time, this was probably in the 90s. So it probably, I don't know how much they would have sold it for if they knew what it was.
Right.
Still really cool. But my ultimate story is when I moved out to Portland, I was dating a woman also from Memphis, but she was living in Olympia, Washington.
Right.
So we kind of had an on again, off again relationship, and I went up to Olympia, and we weren't doing so great, and she wanted to go to a thrift store, and I was like, fucking hate thrift stores, or whatever, I don't want to go to the fucking thrift store. We went to the thrift store, and next to the thrift store was a skateboard shop. So I went in the skate shop, or I peeked in, I saw, they have records in there. I went in the skateboard shop. They have like a couple racks of LPs. They're all kind of like Warped Tour kind of stuff. No Effects and that kind of thing. But they had a couple boxes of singles. I look at the singles. I looked at the first one. It's like, okay. Second one says half off. So I'm looking through, and it's like, in the beginning, there's nothing. But then I start seeing like some like Mystic singles. Which were like, like Battalion of Saints on Mystic, or like Rat Pack, or like Ill Repute, stuff like that. And they were all 50 cents, but they were in the half off bin, so they were a quarter. I was like, well, these records aren't great. I mean, Battalion of Saints is pretty great, but I was like, these aren't great, but I'll buy them for a quarter, and the very last record in the bin is the Connie 7-inch.
Oh man. Amazing.
Wild Boy from Italy. And this is one of those records that I had on my want list because I saw it on other people's want list. I'd never actually seen the record.
Right.
And not only is it like covered in 50-cent stickers, but it was half off. So it was actually a quarter. And I thought for sure this must be a bootleg or something. And to this day, I've never seen that there is a bootleg of it. It's hand stamped and everything, and just a really cool story of like finding a record in the wild when like I wasn't even out looking for records.
Yeah.
I only went there because I got dragged to the thrift store, and then I decided to check in the skate shop. So like those are the kind of stories that are really, I think are really cool. Like that record, not, like I'm not selling it for any amount of money because I got it in such a cool way. And I really want to know the story. Like how did this?
How did they get there? Yeah.
A skate shop
right
in Olympia, Washington, that was only selling kind of mall punk kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's an amazing story, and I can't quite match it, but it's very similar. So it kind of involves an ex-girlfriend, and it involves like a recycle store in Kawasaki that I didn't want to go into because they were looking for a fridge or something, like a used fridge. And you know, these places like never have records, but you know, a big place, used furniture. So I kind of walk in there, and I just spy like a little stack of records on the floor. So I'm like, okay, let's have a look. So this is such a weird story. So the first, none of them have sleeves, but it's like the Advance single on Fast Nail, just like on the floor for 10 yen. They were like 10 yen each. So weird, like so random. And so, you know,
that's very random.
So there's this Advance, but not only, but like 2 copies just sat there, 2, like 10 yen each. And Rockin' Sweden, 7-inch.
Oh, cool.
8/4, no sleeve. Gauka, 7-inch.
Awesome band.
I mean, you know, Reality Crisis 7-inch on MCR. Mustang 7-inch. Glory Obtain. What a Knucklehead from Sapporo. Great band.
We played with them too. They're awesome.
Very good band.
Really great.
And Daston 7-inch.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
Right, and then what else? Paintbox, Burn Your Weak Mind.
But these are just all sleeveless records.
Just in a little stack, just you know, on the floor. Crazy. And then like, what else? Oh, World grind band from Osaka. 324 grind band.
Oh, yeah.
Tokyo. Sorry, I'm like, and then what? Exit Hippies, some weird Exit Hippies record, and then I made my own sleeve. This is the Tetsuare like gig only.
Yeah.
There was 5 of them. There was like 5 of these with no sleeves. I gave some of them away. 5 of these.
That's awesome.
Like 10 yen each. Recycled store. What were they doing there? I've no idea.
Yeah. So weird.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's my recycle shop in Kawasaki story, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is that other sexual flexi.
Oh man, that's another what? That's another one I've never ever seen or heard of.
The artwork on the back cover is really cool.
Yeah.
To hell with them.
Wow.
Do you know this record?
I know, the Polish band, right?
Yeah, this is another one that like I discovered just from kind of being in Poland and asking people like, what are your favorite records? And this record to this day is one of my favorite records. Got such a cool atmosphere to it, really driving kind of like a Motorhead style drive to it.
Yeah, great
band. Really cool melodies and atmosphere to it.
I used to have that. I used to trade with a guy in Poland. And Moskva, the Moskva LP.
Oh yeah, that's great too.
Still a favorite.
That Polish stuff from the time.
Yeah.
I'm looking for another record, but I'm not finding.
I'm going to show one more. Let's show one more each.
Okay.
Yeah. I showed 2 more. Sorry. 2 more. Yeah. Oh, bastard.
Well, yeah, I was just going to bring that one up that I bought it from, I don't know if you remember, there was a mail order called Vacuum.
Timogen Mark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was only going to bring that up because I ordered that record when it came out. And I remember he had the best prices and I ordered it for $8.
Yeah. Well, he had them and I had them, and then Finn Records had them as well. But like I couldn't charge $8. I don't know how he did
Right,
that.
that was too much.
I don't know how he could make it that cheap. That's pretty crazy.
I don't either. I really don't. It might have just been a labor of love, or I'm not sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I used to write to him a little bit back in those days.
Well, I can't find the record I was looking for, but
all right,
we could do that one at a different time.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I'll just show my last two. This is like just real like scavenging in the 100 yen bins. Nothing in there. This is like right at the back. A discovery for me. Brazilian band called
Brazilian band.
I mean, I'd never heard of this band before. It's from like 2000 and was it from 2004? And it's like, you know when like Ratos de Parao went on Alternative Tentacles and got like that really, really heavy sound?
Totally.
It's like that kind of sound. It was 100 yen, and it's like the limited edition with like a bonus 7-inch. And the 7-inch, they cover like Breathe to Breathe by Napalm Death from that era of Napalm Death. So like nobody, like no hardcore band ever covered that kind of era. So they do it so well. It's like, this is like,
that's awesome.
That's like one of my favorite like scavenging things from like last year. Just right in the back of a 100 yen bin. Never heard of them. Played it to death.
The layout's pretty ugly.
Yeah, it is. It looks like a street punk record, like really nondescript. And I almost didn't buy it because of what it looks like. But it was 100 yen, Brazilian. It's got to be at least decent, you know. So it's a great record. So yeah.
Here's another funny one.
All right.
This is a record I bought in the 90s, early 90s.
Oh,
yeah, the same thing. But if you look, I paid $3.60 for it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've had this record for years and thought that the reason it was cheap was because the first song skips. But this is one of these Discogs things that I'm looking through and finding the exact pressing. And it turns out this is the first pressing of the record. And the skip is how you know it's the first pressing. So it's one of these things that and maybe that's why it was marked down or whatever. But I don't even know if it's that crazy rare, but it's just one of those funny things like,
wow,
it's got a skip in it. Of course it's $3.60. And then it's like, oh yeah, that's the whole first pressing. So for someone like that's more rare.
Yeah.
One that plays through it.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Todd, I think we'll finish. I've got one more record. Oh, come on, I'll show it. This is like, I don't know, do you know this record?
Oh yeah, that's great. That's a great one.
Totally unknown to me. It was in the cheap bin, you know, Brazil 1986. Some of it sounds like Japanese hardcore. It's like got this like the bouncy bass lines and then a real gruff vocalist.
Yeah, that's a great record.
Yeah, so this is a good one for me last year. Totally unknown to me, and yeah, so great record.
It's a good one.
Hard to pronounce. Attack as Horas do Poder, BSB2 split record, like classic. Todd, we could talk for probably 2-3 more hours. So maybe part two.
Yeah, I'll find the other 2 records I was looking for.
Man. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll carry on chatting a bit after I turn the camera off.
Totally.
So cheers, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers.
Until next time. Cheers, Todd. Stay healthy and stay clean.